Hi, Jeff. Are you there?
All right, try that again. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Hi.
Hi, how's it
So good. I think you may have gotten confuzzled because I told Rachel to onboard everybody that was coming in,
going?
but because you were already a client, she was like, "Oh, well, Jeff didn't need to be onboarded, right?" I'm like, "He's new to TechSellerate. He has none of the things." She's like, "Oh." So she's going to be sending you some things.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
Huh?
Good deal.
Yeah, I was like, Jeff is probably lost at this point because I saw that you were on the meeting and I'm like, I wonder if he's even gotten the templates or the unique value proposition or the pipeline management tool or any of the things.
Yeah, no, I think there's just a few of us on the call yesterday that were like, hey, don't think we have anything yet. So, yep.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, honestly, you wouldn't have even been on the call if you hadn't had a what is it, an onboarding session to make sure you could access things and all of that. So I am getting that sorted out. But now that you're on, if you have some questions, I can answer, or I can just train you on how to fill out some of the templates and give you access.
Uh, well, I mean, I don't know that I've seen too much. So
Mhm.
I guess maybe that might be a little bit more of an onboarding, but yeah, no, just,
Got
yeah.
it. So one of the things that we really focus on the TechSellerate program itself is where you are on pipeline management. So if you have any, oh, there he is. Hello.
I didn't realize you were moving on. Sorry.
It's okay. Where you are on in the middle of a sale, on the top of funnel, on the back of the funnel, where you need to put the most emphasis. And Dean, I think, did a really, really good job on getting you guys to a point where at least you were able to make some tough decisions. But I think where you are now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but where you are now is you just got to kind of do the damn thing and build it up. And we can help with lead generation and we can help with campaigns. But I think right now you just need to close some deals.
Yeah, I think we've been doing the damn thing. I mean, we've done two SDRs, we've done some AI stuff, we've done
Mm-hmm.
several things with Dean. We just haven't had anything show up. I mean, I think you guys recommended Imprint and they were supposed to be throwing us like 4 meetings a month. We're getting
Yep.
1.1 meetings a month
And then they weren't showing up.
and not showing up. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think Pete, I believe, put
Mm-hmm.
us in contact with the other company up in Canada, but they're it doesn't seem like they're too interested in us right now. Seems like they kind of just pick and choose who they want to have as clients, and they're not interested in us because I don't know, because we haven't been able to prove
Which is the
any
one?
background. So
Yeah, which is the one in Canada that he referred you over to?
let me find their name again. The DD Collective.
Maybe Collective.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the one where it's like done for you and you only pay based on results, correct?
yeah, pretty much.
Most of those, and I'll be totally honest, most of those shy away from MSPs because MSPs specifically can be very difficult to make sales for, and can be very difficult to book meetings for.
Yeah,
So it ends up being that if they don't get the industry, it's not worth it to them. So
yeah.
it's probably not that they don't want to work with you. It's probably they know they can't do you justice, and that's fine. Um,
Okay.
it's it was worth a shot, absolutely, like
Yep.
to go down the path and just see if it would work, just because things haven't been. But because we have this time and nobody else is on, I can do one of two things. One, you're going to get an onboarding session with me anyways, and you're also going to be able to learn the templates. But I kind of wanted to go over the resume piece, which, do you have that link to the company resume?
To my company resume?
Mhm.
No, I
We,
don't think
okay,
I see anything along those lines.
nope, you are good. I want you to download this and just take a look at it. You and I actually did this initially, when we first started working together, but
Mhm.
I'm wondering if it may have morphed a bit since our initial meeting, because what I'm thinking is we may be dealing with a little bit of a messaging issue as opposed to because it's not like, so here's the deal. You're not providing anything so different that it isn't possible to sell.
Yeah, and I think one of Joe's things over at Imprint, he's like, it just doesn't seem like the Midwest likes calls. So it's like we need to find a different way to get in front of clients.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are more familiar with MSP, and we're really not an MSP.
Correct.
So it's more of an education to the client. So that's where me and Dean have been working on more of like doing events and setting things up that way to do a little bit of client education to find leads and that sort of stuff that way. But I think what it's just kind of boiling down to is, I mean, yes, I am in the sales role, but as we're building things out, trying to figure out how to build this role without me in it.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And so, okay, so I get it. I hear you. I think we're on the same page. What I'd like to do, I just shared with you a link that you can, it's in the chat. And this is all part of the onboarding. There's actually a recording of how we did this in the group setting.
okay.
But I'd like to go with you through this a little bit. And you can type in whatever you want to type in. I am going to share my screen so you can see. I'm not going to type for you though, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you see the same thing that I'm looking at?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So essentially what this is this is and this will help whoever you get in that sales role. This is their cheat sheet. This is your cheat sheet. This is their cheat sheet. I expect anybody in the sales role to kind of morph this a little bit, but what this does is it allows you, since you do have to do so much education, it allows you to do two things. It allows you to find out exactly who you are not selling to. For example, a one person Etsy shop, right? We don't want to do that. I reference that one a lot. So we don't want to do the one person Etsy shop. So that right there is not your buyer. But what we want to do is we want to identify who the buyer is. And we also want to identify, hi Nick, we also want to identify where the buyer is. And I know you were pushing back on this a while ago, but I want to push back on you a little bit. I know you want to be the guy in Indiana, and there's nothing wrong with being that guy. I'm totally down for that. But if you happen to get some deals outside of a specific square radius and it's all cloud-based anyways, are you going to say no at this point?
I mean, that's kind of the conversation I keep having. It's more of um, we don't have the process yet, and I'm just like, I just need to close one deal in Indiana. There has to be one deal in Indiana, uh, so that way I can have that process. Because otherwise, I mean, I sure I'll take on a lead in Arizona,
Mhm.
but at this point, I can't afford to fail, or I can't afford to fall on my face on something that's that far away. Whereas it's in Indiana, I can at least save it in a way. I mean,
Okay.
I'm
Talk
eight
to me about
thousand
that.
dollars into sales on all this stuff since we started.
I know.
Uh, so I mean, at this point, I'm just like, that's why I was like, I gotta cut back, or we gotta do something different, because how we're spending the money just doesn't make sense. But I'm like, why can't we find something in Indiana? Like,
Mhm.
it's more of our messaging, or more of our how we're finding the people more than that. So I mean, opening it up to the entire country, definitely something I want to do. But let me close something here locally so that way I can make sure that our process is appropriate
Okay. I'm with
before
you.
opening it up to everybody, right? So
Yep. Okay. I'm with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the very top. This is a cheat sheet. This is not the same as the intensive, because in the intensive we were like, okay, here's what we need to do, here's how we plan, and here's the marketing strategy, right? And here's what
yep.
we do from a sales strategy. This is not that. This is literally a on the desk, we print it out, we pop it in front of the computer, and the person in sales has this at their disposal to have the conversation, so that they don't necessarily have to lean on a script, but they can lean on, this is my value proposition. I need to push the education piece. I need to potentially have somebody fill out that questionnaire, did you guys ever create that cloud readiness assessment?
So our cloud readiness assessment has been just a cybersecurity audit in a way.
Mhm.
And as we kind of roll it out, people were wanting more of a cybersecurity audit. And I'm like,
Yep.
that's not what this is. Like, that's more
No.
of a paid thing, you know? So we've lost deals by saying that it was a cloud readiness assessment. So that's where we're like, okay, let's not put the word cloud in it, and we'll pitch it more of like a MSP in a way of just like, hey, let's um, just do a discovery meeting, really is how we've been posing it, because the two that we did and we're like, hey, let's do a cloud readiness assessment. They're like, hey, well, here's another company that's providing a cybersecurity awareness thing, and they're charging us $1,000 if you're going to do this for free. And I'm like, no, it's not what we're
It's
doing.
not the same
They're
thing.
like,
No.
we didn't even get a chance to put our foot in the door. So
Got it.
because they weren't even
So
ready for that.
got it. So let me rephrase. So the cloud readiness assessment was always meant to be a lead generation tool, almost as if it were a self-assessment, right?
Yep.
So like let's see if we are actually ready for this. One of our members inside of TechSellerate is a one-man band, and he is moving people to a cloud environment as well. And his pitch has shifted a little bit since joining. And we've gone from, we still offer sort of that cloud readiness assessment, but it is not an in-person. It's sort of the take this to self-identify, because it weeds out the people that are not your client and it puts the
Yeah.
people in front of you that are. So I would suggest shifting the language and the messaging so that it's actually a self-assessment, like so cloud readiness self-assessment, and it's just a checklist. It's, do you want to be more secure? Do you have people on the road? Are they not allowed? Are they not in one location? Are you concerned about security in your current environment? And how much data do you have? Simple questions, right? And with that, you just have 5 to 10 simple questions based on their answers. You could pop this in a Google form. I mean, it does not have to be, this is not rocket science, right?
Yep.
And so once they give you the answers, you can then say, well, based on these questions, you know what? You're not a perfect candidate. We can make some great referrals, right? If you're looking for like a co-managed environment or whatever. Or, hey, it looks like this might be worth a conversation. Let's do that, right? And it creates sort of that lead opt-in. So let's go back to this, but that's just my pushback on the cloud readiness assessment. I know it works, but you have to deliver it in a certain way, as opposed to having it be an offering. It's a lead gen. It is not an offering from you. And that might be why you lost that potential client, because they thought it was a service that they were going to get from you, as opposed to a self-identifier.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, that's been our messaging with the SDR was like, hey, let's have Jeff come in and do a cloud readiness assessment, which is basically, we've told them that it's a service then, right? So how are you thinking about trying to deliver that if we're not delivering it through an SDR? Are we just driving them to a website? Or we okay?
Yep.
So that's one thing that we're not doing at all, and I've been questioning for a while is like,
It should
how do we
be
drive
out.
people to find us rather than us find them?
Yep. There's digital lead gen, there's online social media, there's Google Ads, but you have to do it in a cohesive way, right? So if it had been me wanting to do this, I'm sitting here, I'm Jeff, right? I want to fill out my unique value proposition, which I think we kind of already know because we've been working long enough together to know that you're making people feel secure and protecting their environments no matter where they are. But you don't say it like that, right? Lewis on our team or in the TechSellerate program says it like that because we got there from the work that we do in here. And he was very good about positioning himself in a new way. He actually used to be a regular MSP who moved into cloud, right? So
Yep.
similar story, right? But he's on the other side of the country. So you guys are not in conflict. You guys can be co-competitors, not competitors. So it's great. So the way that he has been securing meetings, though, has been utilizing the hustle of LinkedIn automation, right? Which you did try and it didn't really work that much, but I think it also had to do with the fact that it was going to errands and then we didn't set it up. And then it was like there were certain things that just weren't jiving. So in this, you'll learn how to manage it on your own, but you'll also learn how to set up that lead generation piece so that we can put it into an outbound email campaign. We can use the same one on LinkedIn. You can have a landing page where you're attracting people. And then you can also push it out into thought leadership because as you're putting blogs out and you're putting additional information out, you can have people driving to that. So that sort of becomes your lead capture, no matter who's making a call on your behalf, whether it's an SDR, whether it's you, whether it's anybody, the pathway is if you don't drive them to the self-assessment, you're at least qualifying them by asking the same questions that you want to know anyways, right? It's just qualifying questions. And it's making them go through that budget authority need timeline once you do to get to that next phase, to get to that sale. So that's why I said that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted you to get into this, because we can go back to basics and really perfect that messaging piece for you. Because I think where you're losing people is they're confusing they're confusing the lead generation piece with the deliverable, which I think that's problem one. And problem two, we're not leading from a thought leadership perspective, from moving people to the cloud and the fact that it is potentially more secure and more beneficial and cost effective if they do it right.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're fine with all that. I mean, after Aaron left, I mean, me and Dean went through and kind of blew a lot of that stuff up. But excuse me, we
Fine.
did meet Alfred, and all that stuff was kind of coming to me as well too. And yeah, the responses that we were getting from that wasn't working there either. So
How
again,
often were you going in and tweaking the messaging?
we were doing that just about every week with Dean there because we're like, oh, this isn't working, so let's change this up. And yeah.
Did you pause campaigns or did you add additional campaigns?
I believe we just cloned the campaign and came up with a new group of people that it started to deliver to. So we started off with like, I think we did heating and air companies at first, and then we just kind of did different verticals. And we're like, all right, let's try this messaging with this group of people that we pulled out of Apollo, because yeah, we're like, well, we can't, where we were getting the leads from wasn't helping. So we're like, all right, let's try this new thing called Apollo out. Let's get some leads there. We'll find some interest. we'll start playing off those interests and trying to get new things that way. So
And you were putting Apollo leads into Meet Alfred?
yes, yep.
Okay.
And then we're also using Apollo for
Outbound email.
outbound email as well too. Yeah.
Okay. So do me a favor. That's all good. I'd like to see the emails that were going out and the campaigns that were going out potentially through Meet Alfred, because I think as opposed to cloning and trying the same messaging on new verticals, it might be tweaking messaging and really diving into the UVP, that unique value proposition. So let's fill this out for you, and let's knock this piece out, because I think this may either open up the opportunities or it may show that we have to make a shift. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. You already know your name, your role, your contact details. I'm not worried about that. Do me a favor, your company elevator pitch, because I know we worked on this a while ago. Do you have it written down still and you remember it?
Well, obviously just kind of keeps evolving as we keep growing.
Which is normal.
But, yeah. But yeah, no, basically our elevator pitch that we're using right now is we specialize working with smaller businesses because we see value in the cloud of being able to leverage the cloud infrastructure that gives you enterprise security at a small business budget.
Okay. So I love that sort of aspect, but I would probably tighten it up and go from what you said, which I think is probably the most powerful piece, because if the way I look at it is, and I just did this with Bashir and Tavarian too, because they were saying something similar, not about cloud, but they were saying something similar to what they provide.
Yeah.
And they touched on what they solved, and you just touched on what you solved faster, but you still were talking about what you provide. So did I ever tell you about the umbrella analogy, where you have an umbrella manufacturer and you ask the guy what he does and he says, oh, I make umbrellas, and then you're like, all right, cool, but you don't have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But then if you talk to him about what he actually does, and he talks about something that's relatable and tells a story and almost presents it like a question and a solution, it then turns into a conversation, right? So you ask the same question to the umbrella salesman manufacturer, and he says, you know how when it rains and you get stuck between the car and the grocery store, and you go and you run as fast as you can, and you get into the grocery store and you're just soaking wet, and of course you're going to say, yeah, I hate that, right? He says, well, I solve for that. I make sure you never have to do that. And he says, ooh, how? Well, we make umbrellas for you, right? So that's that piece. So you already said it, but you said it without saying the problem. So you said, I provide solutions, enterprise solutions for small businesses, which basically means you allow small businesses to access enterprise solutions at an affordable rate that allows them to do business, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
And I don't think you sell it like that. I don't think I've ever heard you sell it exactly like that, where you have said that we make it accessible. And I've heard that, and I've heard pieces of it, but I wonder what would happen if we shifted it. Take cloud out of it completely. Just because you use cloud as a tool doesn't necessarily mean that that's what people are looking for. They just want to have the latest and greatest, and they want to have enterprise solutions in their small businesses. Yep. So I wonder if you stated it like a problem, right? Like, hey, you know how small to medium-sized businesses don't have access to a lot of the solutions that enterprise businesses have. I make it possible for small and medium businesses to operate as if they were a large engine or an enterprise sized engine. All of a sudden they say, ooh, how, right? And then you say from a technology standpoint, right? Because you can't always say like, everything is enterprise based or that everybody wants enterprise, but you can state it as the solution.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense the way I'm saying it in a
Yeah.
roundabout way?
Yeah. I mean, the
I think
elevator,
you're already doing
the
it.
umbrella thing kind of helps a little bit of like, hey, nobody wants to get wet. So yeah.
Right. So it's more of, you know what you're doing when you're trying to solve for, I mean, think of it in terms of a small business, right? So when you're talking in terms of a small business, you're talking to somebody that runs it and they're trying to keep track of everything. And it's so hard to scale when you don't have all the resources of a large organization, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you're trying to run payroll, make sure things are connected, understand that your data is safe, comply with the latest things that you probably are not in compliance with because frankly, you can't keep track of it all. And then you also have to deal with MFA, you have to deal with all of this stuff. And how do you even get your daily work done? That must be exhausting. Well, that's going to have somebody say, yeah, you're right. That's it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really tough. I have a team of 10 people and it's tough. Sometimes I don't even get dinner, right? Like I can't, there's no work-life balance.
Yep.
And then you can say, and you live it, like I see you living it. So like you understand what this guy is going through better than anybody. So then when you say, I allow business owners to have the same technological resources as enterprise organizations so that you can have work-life balance right there. Who cares how? At that point, a business owner or a COO of a small company is going, oh my God, please come in my house, come in my office, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think that may be a piece of the key unlocking the door as opposed to pushing the cloud, because I don't think they care how.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you're sparking a little bit of a question or an idea. I'm trying to figure out how to word it as well too, because you mentioned something like latest and greatest or whatever, and I'm just like, the clients that we're talking to, they get the pop-up on their cell phone that says, hey, upgrade your iCloud to 1 terabyte of storage. And they're like, well, most of them don't even want to do that,
Right.
but they're doing it anyways because they're forced into it. But then once they have it, then they're like, oh, well, this is great that now I get a new phone and all that stuff downloads automatically. I don't have to worry about backing it up or syncing it. So I'm trying to figure out how to word that same thing as like, all right, well, we're just upgrading your enterprise with these tool sets that you don't want, but end up making your life better anyways.
I mean, okay. So this is probably something that you are not going to want to hear, but the way you just said that would be hysterical for a webinar, and people would go and they would listen. That's not your elevator pitch, but that is definitely some thought leadership. And it literally says, we offer all the technology you don't want or that you don't want to deal with, or something that's going to get their attention, right? It's like, this is all the stuff that you don't want to push upgrade, but you have to anyway. So you might as well know why you're doing it. Come over here. Right? But
Yeah.
that's not your elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch will always be what you solve.
True.
And if you put it in a frame of reference, like it's the question that you're answering, and it's the relatable story that they can feel what you're talking about because you're there with them. That's huge. What you're talking about is what you do with it.
True. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's not one is better than the other. It's just, this is the elevator pitch. This is how you introduce the messaging, and this is what you do with it after you have a content marketing strategy and a sales cycle strategy, right? And the funnel that you're building. So I think that what you're saying makes total sense. It's just you're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
No, I'm just trying to figure out to utilize that, I guess, in a way, because it's like, yeah, your whole thing of like everybody wants the newest thing, but then at the same time they hate change and they don't want it, so
Yep.
we're helping to, and I think that's sometimes a lot of the frustration that we have with our clients is we're driving that change and our clients just in a way hate it in a way, but they
Mhm.
have been forced to do it. Like I've got a meeting with a client tomorrow that's just like, hey, you set us up on this cloud. We don't really see any purpose of it. But I'm also like, well, the reason we did is because you were concerned about cybersecurity. You were concerned about
Mhm.
scale and growth and making it easier to get access to your employees with this information or whatever. I'm just like,
Right.
well, these are the things we're solving, and now you don't like it. So I'm like, I'll do whatever
Is
you
it
want.
that they don't like it or they don't understand the benefit?
It's probably more the other. It's more they don't understand the benefit, and they're just like, okay, well, this is a change that it worked fine the other way, but they haven't had the pain of losing data. Or they haven't had the pain of being at a cybersecurity risk or something like that. So why change it if we haven't had that issue, kind of deal? So
Right. Right.
yeah,
So it's the age old MSP problem, right? It's the how do they know you're effective if they don't see it being effective,
yeah,
right? It's constant. And this is something where if you're using any sort of a actually you were doing a strategic business review a while ago. Are you still doing that or no?
yeah, yeah. Actually, a lot of our um, internal clients that we're like renegotiating contracts with or whatever, like we've been doing that, and we actually kind of slowed down on it because it ended up generating a lot of extra work and stuff that we haven't been able to keep up with. So we're like, all right, well, we have
Slow
4
down.
new onboardings or whatever. So we're like, all right, well, let's slow that down a little bit. So
Okay. So are you generating a weekly report for them or a monthly report?
no, we're not, because we're not really an MSP. So the data that we're getting isn't about, oh, well, these are what's happening on your machines in the office.
Mhm.
Um, our reports are, you know, these are how many spam mail things that have been blocked, and
But that's still, I mean, that's it's important,
yeah,
right? So giving those sort of analytics and metrics on a weekly, it just, or even a monthly, it shows action. It shows, this is how many cyber attacks you were prevented, or what, sorry, can't talk English, that were prevented in the month, or this is how many, times we, either halted or prevented a cyber threat. This is how many times a non-malicious insider threat tried accessing documentation that they didn't have permission for. Things like that. And I understand that you're not an MSP, but you do have access to that sort of data from an overarching cloud network, right?
yep, yep,
So how many doors are open to their environment? How many windows are open to their environment? How many doors did you shut and how many window alarms did you put on? Right?
yeah,
It's giving those metrics. And one thing that I think we at CyberSells do really well is we report on a weekly basis. Even if there's not a whole lot of activity, we can show where the onus lies. And okay, Mr. Client, we need this from you. And here's what happened this week. Here's what happened this past week. Here's how we know that not a lot is happening and we need to pivot, right? So we provide that, and that piece of it just shows that we're paying attention.
mhm,
And it shows that we're responsive. That's something that I wish more people in the service industry did. And I think it's something that really sets us apart. If you were able to give some sort of a metric-based report on a monthly basis, at least they would see, and it would probably take down the size of the tickets when you start doing those strategic business planning sessions or responses, because they would have had the feedback and said, oh, what's this? Right. And it's like a one-off, as opposed to, here's the laundry list of all the things, right, from a strategic business meeting.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I do see, like, occasionally I'll see those messages that you guys send through, and I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, well, these are the next steps. And I'm like, well, there's really no action on this because this is the same
Mhm.
report that I saw last week. So in a way, I'm just like, well, I don't see a lot of value in that sort of stuff, because it's the same repetitive information in a way. So I'm just like,
Right.
same thing with sending somebody how many emails we blocked or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, great. Like that stuff comes in anyways, but um, I don't know.
Just an updated dashboard, though. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, I see where
yeah,
you're coming from too. You don't want to create noise, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
you still want them knowing that you're paying attention. Another, okay, so let's dive in. So we did your elevator pitch. Did you write it down, or most of it?
yeah. I've been trying to add ports. Yeah, this document's not very editable, but yeah, I've been trying to type stuff in here.
There is one that allows you to edit. You should be able to click in. Do you see boxes?
No, it's when you open it in Google, it really messes it up. Here, I'll share
Can
it.
you download it? Here, I'll stop sharing and let you
Um,
let you share. Now you should be able to.
yeah, see, it just kind of
Oh, that's weird.
really makes it.
Oh, no. Okay. So send the one that I just gave you. It should be a PDF. And
Yeah,
then you should just, yep. Okay. So then download it as a PDF. Don't open it with Google Docs. If you do the three little dots,
yeah, the little Zoom toolbars in the way there.
can you hit download? There we go. Hey, we got boxes.
Works a little bit better, that's for sure.
Yeah. Don't download it like a Google Doc. It doesn't work.
That's what it suggested. Oh, well,
That stupid Google.
right.
Ugh. If only there was some other solution in the cloud. All right. Are you able to now type in that? Yep, there we go. Fabulous, darling.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out some way to
Make it a little bit smaller.
font size and stuff. Can't really do that here, but okay.
Okay. So then from there, we go to not your competitors. I want your differentiators. Why clients choose us over and over. And don't go off of what you think. Go off of historically why people love you.
I mean, does that kind of fall back more along the lines of like, oh, well, we offer the technology that you people don't want to adopt and we put it in there for you? Or is that really
No, that's
different?
again, that's more of a campaign, right? So that's more of talking about why you do what you do, right? It's what we want to do is actually, like, I'm having a conversation with Jeff. Why am I going to hire you, as opposed to some other guy down the street saying that he can give me all of these technological solutions? And sometimes the differentiator is you, right? There's sometimes there's literally no other reason. You don't have better buying, you don't have better response time, you don't have better reviews, you don't have better, I mean, there's a lot of times where you're just, sure, you could go to Rob down the street or you could go to me. It doesn't matter. We're going to give you the same thing. So what's that little extra thing from Wowlinks.
I mean, that's fair. And I really don't want to put in there like, hey, it's me.
But it could be. I mean, the fact you've
In a
been
way
doing this
there
for a
is
long
a little
time.
bit of it, but I'm trying to build this to where it's not me. Like
Mhm.
I just need,
So
I
what do
don't
they
want
get?
people to call in and only talk to me. Like that happens
But
quite.
what is it about you? Because if it's you, then maybe it's the culture that you are representing, and it's the culture and the overall organization. What does that provide that other people can't,
Yeah,
or other organizations can't? Think of WowLinks as a person that you're talking about. What makes WowLinks special?
yeah. I mean, I think,
Other than a cool logo, because the logo is pretty cool.
well, I don't know. It's been around for 20 years.
I've seen it.
So I think a lot of that probably just kind of boils down to, you know, it is the technology or the solutions, but actually just kind of sticking with whatever that solution is and diving into it. Sometimes you're just like, hey, let's just do Teams phone systems, and you throw that out, but then it's like, well, how else can we leverage that? Well, let's
Mhm.
tie it into your CRM or something like that, not necessarily going any farther than that. So just kind of, I guess, going a little bit extra on implementation of new solutions.
Yep. Okay.
That's
Okay.
a lot of
That's a good one.
this
That's a good
art.
one. So you go further into it. You go into detail. You don't let up, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I mean, I guess if you look at it from a people perspective, like Holly and Malcolm, like they just have clients that just constantly call in because they're like, hey, I don't want to talk to the new guy because he doesn't understand my solution like Holly or Malcolm does or whatever. So I'm just like, again, that's not a repeatable process that I'm trying to
Yeah.
like pull off or pull out of there. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
another reason why people typically call us as well too. Like they like the support that they get from the help desk because it's very
So,
personalized or very customized. Yeah.
right. Which it may not be easy to scale Holly and Malcolm, but as a new person comes on, they could potentially have that new account, right? And so how at what point when you are scaling do you hit capacity? And if you hit capacity with Holly, then you know that you're not giving her a new person, then you're putting on Malcolm, right?
Yep.
So then you can start figuring out timing, and where it at one point was not scalable because you were just maxing out Holly and Malcolm. Now you've got this new guy. Okay, let's put him and Malcolm on this and just make sure he's good and then phase Malcolm out. But he's
Yep.
the lead, right? So that can be scalable because then you say, okay, I can put 5 to 6 clients on this guy. And on the 6th client, I'm going to make sure that I have another person waiting on deck to put Malcolm Malcolm, new guy and new girl on, but new girl's going to be lead. And then we're going to phase guy out and start scaling, right? But you
Yep.
have to be able to provide um, that process of capacity. And that's something that when you look at your cost of goods sold, you start taking that into account. Okay, how many can I put this person on before I max them out? And then where's my new hire?
Yep.
And then what that training ramp is. It's not anything you don't already know, but what it does from a sales perspective now is it allows you to use this as a differentiator because they do have a personalized approach in the help desk because you know what the capacity is, you know that they can take 5 to 15 people, I don't know, whatever your secret number is,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know that they can know their clients, and even if they're off on vacation or whatever, their notes are there and you know that you've got another team member that's at least familiar with the account.
Yep. exactly.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty good differentiator to me. And that's not all you. That is a customized approach to help desk that is scalable. And so now you have a differentiator that doesn't require you.
Yep. Okay.
All right, let's do another one. You got to have more than one or two.
Oh yeah, I mean, but my brain's obviously going straight to the cloud stuff because I'm like, I need to be a little bit different than an MSP, right?
And you are, but we're selling what you provide, not how you get there. And I think that's a lot of that becomes an issue a lot, right? We have one client where they have a solution. They've invested in all these solutions through, Kaseya or Data or whatever, right? So they have all these solutions and they are reselling the solutions. And it took forever to get through. Okay, but what does the solution do? It doesn't have to be called what they sell it as.
Yeah.
You don't have to resell the product. You have to resell the service. You have to provide a service. You have to provide the benefit. And then when you start providing the benefit, doors open up because now you've got a lot more to talk about. So, for example, Lewis, who he'll come back to the group after he's back from, he went to Tokyo. It's a long story. You'll meet him. What he does is he provides security to organizations no matter where their team members are, which is big, right? But that's essentially what you're doing in cloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's more his elevator pitch. That's not really his differentiator. And he doesn't mind being the guy, right? So he doesn't want to scale right now. He's happy to be the guy, and his personality is, like I said, you'll love him. So when you meet, his personality is just one of those guys where it's like you just want to deal with him. You want to hang out. And he likes that about his differentiator, right? But he also isn't fabulous at, and this is getting recorded, so he's going to hear it. So one of his weaknesses is he can't scale. And he doesn't know how from a process perspective because he's not the technical guy. So it may even be something that he could farm out to you and say, hey, I need to go in on this one with you. This is bigger than what I can handle, right? So that sort of, cooperative attitude for providers would be good. You specifically from a differentiating standpoint, you are very collaborative. You do co-manage really well, right?
Not really. Like that's
I thought you said you could.
no, not really. We haven't really done that too well. We've got one client that we've done that with, but it's been a very black and white line of, hey, we do phones and they do the IT stuff.
Mm.
And then that client's actually coming to us asking some IT questions. And I'm like, I mean, it may eventually turn into another prospect, but I'm just also like, oh, it's also like crossing the bound that we said that we weren't going to cross. So,
Right. Like, how do you stay in your own lane?
yep.
Okay. So maybe we won't pick that one then. I could have sworn you said that you would do a co-managed one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of why we've kind of always stuck a little bit smaller.
So
Just
maybe that is the
because you don't have as
differentiator
much
then.
bureaucratics to go through to get something approved or
Yeah.
another IT provider to come to a similar idea set or whatever, right?
So maybe that's the differentiator. You focus on the little guy. That's a big differentiator. You're not just the big, right? So if you're focusing on the little guy and you focus on the SMBs and the small businesses that can afford you, you're not, you're not fighting for the large deals. They're not fighting for attention. You can get that personalized help desk. That's great.
yeah.
That's a pretty good differentiator, right? Now, if
Yeah.
you went to any networking group in your geographical area and you didn't say anything about cloud, but you listed that's your differentiator, that's your elevator pitch, do you think you could book a meeting?
I mean, is having a customized help desk like that much of a differentiator, or only focusing on small business that much of a differentiator? Because I mean,
Think about it this way. If I am a small organization and I don't know the first thing about IT, and I know that I have to be in compliance, but I don't know who to go to,
yeah,
wouldn't that make a difference?
yeah, I guess the right person.
You can tell me I'm wrong, but I think it
Yeah.
would make a difference.
Yeah, I think it would help. I mean, I guess I'm just expecting the wow factor of like, oh,
That's still pretty
for the,
wow.
for the Apple or something. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, but like I mean, like I think you are diminishing the value that you bring because you don't think it's that important, and you're trying to find this huge wow factor, like this
yeah.
huge, you know, we do
I
it
mean,
in
that's wow
cloud,
links,
right?
right?
Where your wow links, right? Wow, wow. And that's and again, that could be a really fun campaign, like wow, tech, wow, like like you could
Yeah,
do a bunch of stuff. And sometimes the wow factor is just the fact that we do it better,
yeah,
right? Um, but who is my buyer, right? So we already know that it's the small guy. So now let's think about
yeah,
the rule, not the exception.
yeah. I
And
mean, as far as like title, I mean, typically it is the owner, the um, usually the
owner or
only
president.
like two people, so
Now, but you don't want just two people because you need people that are going to be able to afford you, right?
true. Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, usually the C-suite executives is only like a couple of people, not
So
20,
you're talking to
whatever.
owners
So,
and presidents. You're not talking to
yeah,
CEOs unless they're self-appointed CEOs.
right.
Yes. Got it. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's put that in there. Owner, president. Perfect. So what's their pain?
I mean, I guess that's what I need to figure out because really, for the most part, the pain up to this point has always been um, you don't currently have an IT provider. You need help with IT. Uh, you know, we're transitioning somebody who doesn't have something, bringing those technologies and solutions so that way they have something. Um, so it's what they don't have and then helping them find it. So, but if we're focusing more on the cloud side or a cloud perspective, then I'm like, that pain isn't really there until they've been educated that they have a pain. So I'm not really sure how to say that there's pain there.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense? I don't know.
yeah, no, it does. It's the pain is they don't know what they don't know, right? It's
Yeah,
also there's an easier, more efficient way of working, and they don't know it.
yeah,
It's not that they don't want it, it's that they don't know it. And and it's probably this innate feeling that when you meet them, they know they could be doing it better, but God bless it, they don't know how, right?
yeah,
So that to me is a pretty common issue that a lot of presidents, owners have, because they're the same as you. They went into business because they were really good at something. And then, oh shoot, I have to run a business,
yeah,
right? And so they have to do all these pieces that they don't get either. So everybody has that thing that they offer. And the best part about it is we can all help one another get there, but you gotta know the right people. So again, this doesn't say anything about the cloud. This is it, the cloud is the tool, the service is what you're offering.
yeah.
Okay. So I think right there, that's pretty clarifying. Do you feel
Is
like you're
that
getting a
enough?
little,
I
well,
mean,
I think you tell me, if you need more, we can do more, but sometimes simplicity is a benefit.
that's true. That's why I was just trying to figure out, is that enough of a pain point to be like, hey,
Yeah. If a customer is potentially lost and they could be doing business better, wouldn't you think that's a big enough pain? They might be losing money.
True.
Right? Or they're losing, or they're lacking in efficiency. They're losing money. There's so much just from not knowing what they don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Or
let's
just
go.
the real salesman don't know that it's supposed to rain that day, right? So
Right. Exactly. They didn't even know that they needed an umbrella, but man, they're going to spend $15, $25 on one that would have normally been $5 if they need it. Right? So offerings. And now I put service product because I'm not looking for the products that you resell, but I'm looking for the services that you provide that we can then productize. Do you understand the difference? Okay, just making sure. All right, so services, let's go ahead and list them out. You don't have to have 5, but I think you do.
this has been a struggle for me because I do try to put, I'm like, hey, these are the things that we offer, but then customize this stuff all the time. And it's like, even though we're saying, hey, it's a new user or a new cloud user or whatever's $225, we end up customizing it for one client. It's 125 for one and 225 for the next, so.
Right. And listen, discounts happen. It's, it's a commercial world.
Yeah.
That's fine. Right. But that's not changing your deliverable. That's changing the value of your deliverable, but the deliverable itself stays the same, correct?
I mean, it's different for every client. So the reason why it's 125 for one and 225 for another is because, they may need a bigger infrastructure so they can run CAD in their infrastructure. And the other guy's just running Word, Excel, and Adobe, and like those are 2 different infrastructures and how they use technology.
Okay, but you
The other
could
one
say that,
doesn't. So
right. But you could say that you offer infrastructure support. That you may have different tiers of service at that point, but it's still the same deliverable.
yeah, I guess you throw me off whenever you put the word price next to it because I'm like, it's
Don't worry about the price.
never the same, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine. It can be custom, or you can say tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got infrastructure support. We've got cloud compute. Yeah.
Cybersecurity.
Yeah. You've got migrating to the cloud. You do cloud migrations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got phones as well too.
There you go.
So there's 5 and probably 5 more, but
okay. So if you're talking about phones, could we simplify that? And how many other sort of services that is, like I know that the phone system is voice over IP, right? So that's cloud phones. So what else that is sort of a buy up? Could we potentially just call that connectivity? Because it could be phones, it could be email, it could be conferences, it could be Zoom, it could be a whole lot of stuff, right? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to simplify your offerings down so that you don't have so many SKUs. I mean, you're always going to have so many SKUs, but you could have packages at this point, right? You could keep it simple and just add to it.
Okay. Yeah.
You see where my head's at?
Yeah.
Because what I think we need to do specifically for you is we need to tighten up that messaging, because I don't think it's an imprint problem. I don't think it is a lack of people wanting help. I think it is a lack of, and this falls on CyberSells too. This is not me blaming you or the team or anything. This is, I think we have all failed to identify why they would want you in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I reached out to you the other day. I was like, I just can't do this another year. So
no, it's too much. It's too much. That's why it's so important that we go back to basics. Let's define this stuff. And the fact that we didn't have the answers for all of this stuff like that shows me that we need to do this.
Yeah. Cool.
How's it feeling? Does it, so if you put this in front of a new salesperson, do you think that it would help them position Wowlings?
I don't think it's their silver bullet or anything, but I mean,
No,
they'd have to really understand why we're customized help desk or why we focus on SMBs or stuff. But I think once that's explained to them and they buy into it, then it would probably help. Yeah.
I agree. Okay. All right.
Cool.
So next, all right. So we actually used up the hour. I do have to hop, but I
Yep.
do, if you have the time tomorrow, I'd like to go over how to fill out that pipeline tracker.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
will be
I
here.
think I have, yeah, 2 to 3 o'clock tomorrow. Is that what you were just talking about? Or
That's
were
the
we going at
one.
different times? Okay.
All right, Jeff. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
Alex.
Bye.